this video is for you if you're a high performer who is building their personal brand. Because there's something that happens with high performers when they build their personal brand, and I'll share what that is through this story, and I'll also share some ways that you could reframe your perspective along the way. If you are someone in business who considers yourself a high performer and you're at the start of your creator journey, there are going to be a lot of skills that you have to learn. Too many to probably count on this video. I've coached hundreds of clients at this point, most of which are high performers in business who find themselves for the first time ever having to market themselves. And when you first learn to market yourself as a business owner, you find yourself becoming what others refer to as a creator, someone that shares their knowledge, that gets in front of people, that shares what they know, that does videos, that does live video events, that markets themselves to gain attention so that their business can do better, so that they can serve more people, so that they can make a bigger impact. One of the things that happens though, is that when you're a high performer, you expect a lot of yourself. And you've probably been in different environments, whether you started in corporate or whether you just dominated within your niche in business, maybe even on an athletic endeavor. But you've been in different environments where you have the upper hand, you're at the top, you've met a certain standard. The beautiful thing about becoming a creator, of building a personal brand again, is that you're starting as a beginner again. The biggest difference between someone that I see that builds their personal brand sustainably over time and that gets too emotionally involved and that takes unmet expectations too personally in the beginning of their journey to the point where they give up too soon is how they look at things when things don't meet their expectations. And this just happened with a client. And so I'm going to share the story with you. And I think that by sharing this story with you, you may even resonate with it yourself, or it may be something for you to mentally refer back to if you ever go on this journey and experience this. So I have a client, and for reference, just in the first few months of her business, before even coming to me, she had already made over 6 figures. So this is in the first couple months of her business. So just through her network, through her reputation that she has built, she's already has the foundations of a multiple 6-figure business. Obviously, this is ramping up as she starts to work with us. And it's not surprising because she's not new with having conversations, with having built a reputation in a very niche industry for 25 plus years. She was a leader at a huge Fortune 50 company, so on and so forth. That's not unexpected to me, given where she was a leader before, her skills, so on and so forth. But the difficulty is that when somebody at that echelon, at that caliber of skill, and who expects a certain standard of themselves starts building their personal brand, is that they're a beginner again. They have to learn a lot of new skills, and they can apply certain expectations that have been met in different environments to this new environment. And it's very different to be invited to a corporate webinar to do a talk where that Fortune 50 company does the marketing, does everything for you, and you show up and there's thousands or hundreds of people. That's very different than doing the marketing yourself, than getting the people on the call yourself, and learning all of the skills that come with that. And there were many, from the tech to the designing of the presentation, to presenting in a different way without a huge brand logo backing you, to learning how to market yourself, because now you and you alone are responsible for your call to action versus just being responsible for one department in a team and not necessarily also being responsible for the sales that come into the company. So there are just so many skills that one needs to learn. And what happens is that these high performer expectations and standards are applied to environments where the person is a beginner. This can lead to frustration, this can lead to a mental frame that I have fallen into many, many times, and which is why I'm sharing this video. Because there's a way where that type of energy can be channeled where you can become unstoppable. So in this person's scenario, she did her first LinkedIn live event ever. She had 200 people pre-registered. She had 14 people on the actual live, which is below normal. So usually you'd expect 20 people in that scenario for her first live. That would be about a 10% attendance. And that number alone was enough to throw her off her kilter and say things as powerful as, oh, I'm disappointed in myself, I should have done better, and a lot of other negative things that I don't even want to repeat out loud because sometimes we don't realize the power of our own tongue. And this isn't just her. This is almost every single business owner that I see become a creator. It is a journey, it is a process, and it requires frame. And the frame that you want to have along this journey is to stack the wins. And I know that this is easier said than done because, again, I've fallen into this many times, but as much as humanly possible, you want to avoid things like there's only 14 people on the live. I wanted 100. Or, oh, I'm disappointed in myself because this many people didn't show up. So in this particular scenario, in our conversation, she was so focused on the fact that there were not as many people on the actual live event that she expected, that she missed out on the magic on everything that she had just accomplished. And the first thing is that she just hosted her first LinkedIn Live event. And for her to host this, she had to learn StreamYard. She had to learn how to do presentation with AI in Canva. She had to do the outline of a presentation. She has to learn as a business owner how to get into the mind of her audience and really look at the engagement, look at her analytics of what she's posting and see what they resonate with the most. She had to learn how to check her microphone, check her camera. She had to learn how to set up her background. She had to have the courage to actually press the live button. And not just that, she actually had to have the vulnerability to say, hey, I might be a little bit nervous in the beginning of this live event, but that's only because it's my first one. She had to get into the flow of her presentation and just genuinely give great information away to top Fortune 500 companies on how to onboard, on how to do whatever it is that she helps them do. Not only that, she had to stay on the live with the same level of enthusiasm, with the same level of energy, just as she would have had the numbers on the actual live met her expectation. And when you look at all of those wins, it crushes in comparison the fact that the 14 should have been 40 or should have been 50 in her mind. More than that, when we looked at the analytics, they were exactly her audience, and 13 out of the 14 stayed on until the end of the presentation, and her live attendance actually improved the longer that she was live, which means that the messaging is correct. So not only is her audience correct, her messaging is correct, and she had already had probably 100 replay views from the time that she did the live to the time that we looked at it, which was just about an hour difference. Not only that, but she got more than 30 people to engage on her live in the comments. So when you do things like this, it's so easy. This is the way that our brains are wired. It's so easy to look at that one negative speck, that one negative piece of the puzzle and say, oh, I thought there was going to be 60 people on the live. I'm disappointed in myself because there were only 14, or I don't want to schedule my next one because there should be more on the live. The fact of the matter is that the true win is who you become by instead stacking and writing out all of the wins. Even if it's literally, I had to learn StreamYard. I bought a mic and camera. I did a tech check, presentation. I posted for 30 days prior so that we could get analytics and insights to learn what my audience is really interested in. You want to literally write out all of the wins, and it would probably go all the way down to here versus it's not a negative, but room for growth. You also don't want to take things personally. In a lot of the language that she was using, she would say, well, maybe they just did it to be nice. You also want to avoid making up stories in your mind where you begin to take things personally, like saying, oh, they clicked a 10, but maybe they were just doing that to be nice. That's not true. A great attendance on anything is 30%. So if you're an all-star, you're getting 30% attendance. So that means out of 100 people, 30 are there. So if she's an all-star, A player, A++++, she would have had 60. So A players, people that really have been doing this for years, you could say that they would have had 60. She had 14. This is her first one. And this is the gap of what people are missing is this is your first live. You can't expect to have AAA star level. It's like expecting someone to be Babe Ruth in their first baseball game. It's just not going to happen. The elite athletes, the greatest of all time, like Michael Jordan, all of them, they do it because they build up to the 60. They become machines. They do the next game, even after a terrible loss. They don't allow failure to be taken so personally. The stories that they create around the failure, even if they do take it personally, in a sense, is very different. So if you're someone who has high expectations for yourself, and let's say you go live and there's not as many people there as you thought that there would be, just remember 30% attendance rate is phenomenal A player status. If it's your first live, it's like expecting Babe Ruth on the first baseball game. Instead of saying what's not there, instead of focusing on what's not there yet, the way that it has worked for me to reframe that type of energy, because I also expect very highly of myself, have high standards, always want to become better and better, but I almost take it on as a challenge. So the best A players have 60 people there. Instead of saying, oh, it was so disappointing that I only had 14 people on the live, blah, blah, blah. It's looking in the past, and it's kind of tying emotional energy to something that happened in the past. Instead, what I would advise, and what I do, what works for me, is accepting the reality. Okay, there was 14 people on the live, and then almost tying that emotional energy to the future. What can I do to get 60 on the next live? Or what can I do to get 28 on the next one? Because then it becomes a challenge. Then instead of wallowing in the darkness, what you're doing is you're motivating yourself. You're giving yourself the energy. It's forward propelling energy for you to then go schedule the next live. For you to then look at all the efforts that you put in getting the first 14 people on your first live and saying, what could I do? Could I send out another email? Could I do more videos? Could I send out 2 newsletters? What could I do within my control? Could I change the time of the event? Could I change the topic of the event? Could I remind more people to come to the event, maybe the morning of instead of a few days prior? What could I test? What could I do within my power to get 28 people on this live? And then it becomes more of a challenge. It becomes more forward focused versus past focused. And I think that that's one of the most important things in business is whenever you reach these moments that don't meet your expectations, try to not add that emotional connectivity in the past tense, because then your momentum, your energy will stay there. Try to, as much as possible, connect that energy to the future and to reframe it. And that's really something that has worked for me in everything, and something that still drives me to this day. And I don't know if it will be helpful for you, but I just also know that the people that become unstoppable are the people that focus their energy towards the future. They're doing everything that they can today to improve the output of the future. If you're stuck in the past, how could you have the energy to be future focused, to do what you need to do today to get better results for the future? And the answer is you won't have that energy. You become unstoppable when you're the type of person that if you didn't get 60 people and meet that A+++ threshold on your first live, you say, okay, 20, the second one. Okay, next one. You get 21 on the next one. Schedule the third one, 24. Schedule the fourth one, 7. What happened? Don't take it personally. Was it the title? Was it the topic? Was it a tech issue? Okay, schedule the 5th one. When you become unstoppable is the moment that you never give up. And I don't know what the Babe Ruth quote is, but I know that there's one associated with him that it's just impossible to be someone that never quits, that never gives up. And I think it's along those lines. And it's true. So whenever you find yourself getting a little bit emotionally upset because something didn't meet your expectations, just remember, you may be an expert in your lane, you're a beginner in this lane, and try to reframe it like it's so exciting to have so much room for improvement because you become a better version of yourself in the process. God bless you and have a great day. Ciao.